What's up, y'all? It's your boy Tevin Jameer back at it again with another episode of the Hate It or Love It podcast. Before I get into anything, I just want to apologize because I did not make an episode last week, or I guess you could say, yeah, technically last Sunday. I'm filming this, or I'm recording this Thursday, October 20th. So I'm definitely recording this past when I usually record, podcast episodes. I usually like to record on Sundays and then put it out by Tuesday, but obviously y'all know this Tuesday I didn't put out an episode. So that's why I'm recording this one right now, so that I can hopefully either put this out tomorrow on Friday or Saturday. But the reason I did not film an episode or record an episode, either Saturday or Sunday, is because I went to go see Halloween on Sunday. So Halloween ends. So I was like spending time with my cousin that day. I forget what happened on Saturday, but I just couldn't do it Saturday. Maybe it was like homework or school stuff or whatever. But yeah, I was just like, it's 5 o'clock. I'm supposed to get on PlayStation with my boy at 6. So I was like, with this time that I have, I might as well, give y'all an episode real quick. And this episode isn't going to be anything too crazy. It's really just going to be me speaking my mind on a couple of different topics, which, I mean, that's what a podcast is anyway. But, it's just me talking about a lot of things that happened recently. So, one of the things I want to touch on is, staying motivated without support. I want to touch on social media, the recent movies I've been seeing, and some plans that I have for the end of the year. So with all that being said, I hope y'all tuned in and stuff like that. One thing I do want to address before I get into like the other topics that I planned for today, this is not planned, however. So recently I put out an episode, and I think this was like 2 or 3 episodes ago, but recently I put out an episode where I talked about Eleanor Neale, and ever since that episode came out, I'm pretty sure that is my most viewed and most listened to episode of this podcast, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, like any platform. That is my most popular episode, and I feel like it's because of Eleanor Neale why that is my most popular episode. But here's what I have to say about that. For one, I'm kind of disappointed that I named the episode after her. It helps me get views and stuff like that. It's helping me get clicks, but I don't like it because I guess some people kind of saw, me putting her name in there as clickbait, which, I mean, I started, that whole topic saying I don't know Eleanor Neale personally, and I just happen to have a crush on her. And I mean, that led to some people disliking the video and whatever. People really, disliked that video just because, I talked about Eleanor Neale. I guess they thought I knew her personally. I don't know why they disliked it, but I just know that it probably had to do with Eleanor Neale's fans, because, they're the reason why that was my most popular video and episode of the podcast. So I just want to say this, to any of the fans that are disappointed about what I did in the video, I don't care about y'all. What I do care about is if there is a slight chance where Eleanor Neale herself saw the podcast and she heard it and maybe she felt some type of way about it, I just want to say my apologies to her. I'm sorry for, using your name like that. I mean, I didn't think I was doing it in a disrespectful way, but if you took it as disrespect, then I am sorry for that. Because, I never intend to, disrespect anybody that I talk about or that I bring up in my podcast, unless I mean to, unless I'm coming out and saying I'm going to be disrespectful to you. I don't ever intend on that. So Miss Eleanor Neale, if you feel any type of way about it, then I am sorry. But for the fans that might have been pissed off because they had some preconceived thought in their head, I don't apologize to y'all. I don't care. But Eleanor Neale, sorry for using your name in the podcast. And, you know, I hope I can, you know, still take you out sometime because you are a very beautiful lady. But all right, so let's get on to these topics. So one of the things I wanted to touch on today is staying motivated without support. And this is something that I'm pretty sure a lot of creatives just like me, you know, deal with, because it's tough when you have a dream that you want to achieve, like, you know, and especially something that's not like a common dream. Like a lot of people that I went to high school with, you know, they want to be teachers. They want to be, what's it called? Like they want to be teachers, doctors, nurses, like, you know, they all want to be those things. But growing up, I've always wanted to be in entertainment, whether that's music, like I do on the side, whether it's this, whether, you know, I mostly want to create films, but just anything in the entertainment industry, because like I've said before, I just love to entertain people. So, you know, that's something really big for me. But the thing is, where I'm from, it's not really that much of a popular thing. Like, and even with the people that do, you know, do music and video and stuff like that, it took someone, you know, to deal with, I guess you could say, some bullshit. And then everybody else just kind of followed afterwards. Like I do plan on doing a series on this podcast where I tell like my tell-all story of my rap career, if you want to call it a career. But yeah, I'm going to probably do a tell-all at some point on this podcast. And I was like one of the first few, actually I would say I am the first guy at my school to rap, because nobody was putting music on wax until, you know, it came to me. And I mean, I got people that'll attest to that. Like I made a lot of these people's first songs. You know, these other kids that's rapping that came out of my high school that a lot of people, you know, rock with, you know, they somewhat have to thank me for that, because I made a lot of these, you know, guys that you fuck with. I made a lot of their first songs. I remember bringing people over to my house and recording in my bedroom and, you know, helping them edit, making their SoundCloud pages. I remember all of that. So it's stuff like that. Like, and with me, like I said, those other guys, they do it too, but they were, you know, they were welcomed with all types of acceptance, success, and all that. Me, it kind of seemed like I had to get a lot of stones thrown at me, you know, in order for them to get where they're at. Because when it comes to me, you know, everybody, like, you know, the stereotype, everybody wants to be a rapper. So I got a lot of jokes and a lot of shit said about me, because I was, you know, the first person to do it. I stepped up and did something that other people was only thinking about doing, but I just did it. I didn't put no second thought into it. I just went in and did it. And it seems like I got a lot of like stones thrown at me, like people telling me that my music ass, but then they're low key like fans of the shit. Like I had people come up and tell me like they thought my music was bad at first, but then when I actually started becoming a good rapper, like they were saying that they didn't want to listen to my music no more because I got good. And it's shit like that. I mean, I'm going to get to that in my tell-all, because I think that person that told me that was a little salty because I kind of dissed them in one of my songs. But it's just like, you know, and I'm only using this as an example of how a lot of people from, especially where I'm from, they don't support you when you feel like doing stuff like that. So that just ties back to my overall topic of trying to stay motivated without support. And I know this isn't just a music thing. I know that a lot of other people that I've met that, you know, does creative things, like, you know, my friend Al, you know, I know he had to feel at times like, how do you stay motivated without support? Because here's the thing. People will always say the cliche, like, oh, if you rock with your work, you're just going to do it because you love to do it. And while that is true for the most part, we can't lie to ourselves. There is a certain degree, whether it's a big degree or not, there is a certain degree where we do kind of want to feel people, you know, We want to know that people like what we're creating. So when you feel like nobody is around, when you feel like nobody is supporting you at all, you know, with me, the way that I get over this issue, because I have this issue a lot, because there's a lot of times where I'll put out snippets for stuff. Like, when I first announced this podcast, a lot of people were saying that they were going to check it out. And I kind of had to come to the realization for the past few weeks that I'm getting more support from strangers, people that I don't even know, than my own family and friends. I'm sitting here asking people, did they listen to the podcast? And I know it's a no. And this isn't no disrespect to my friends or anything like that, but I mean, I don't talk to a lot of my friends about the podcast because I know they're not listening. They probably only checked out the first episode and then they just stopped listening. But my thing is, it's just like, when y'all put out something, I'm always willing to check out y'all stuff. So I like, for the energy to be reciprocated, because I'm really big on reciprocation. That's just the type of person I am. I know I said that in the relationship episode, but I'm like that in general. In any and everything, I'm big on reciprocation. You scratch my back, I'm gonna scratch your back too. That's the type of person I am. So it's just like, when you don't feel support from friends, family, when you don't feel like all the support that you feel like you should be getting, the one thing that does keep me motivated, and like I said, it is cliche, but one of the things is because I just genuinely love to create content. I genuinely love it. But another big thing is, no matter how much you feel like there's no support at all, there is people supporting you. Whether they want to show it or not, there is people supporting you. Like, when I look at my stats on YouTube and Spreaker, and I look at how many people is listening to the podcast, how many people is watching my other videos and stuff like that, there is people there. So for the people that might not be showing that you support me, I just want to thank you guys, because, it does get to a lot of your favorite creators. I can't just be the only one. I know a lot of people's favorite creators got to be feeling this, sometimes too. Like, we just want to know that people is, checking out our work and appreciating this, the time and energy that we put into it. And just because we put in time doesn't mean you guys have to like it, but we just want to know that the effort is appreciated. And if you guys feel like, we're not doing good enough in something, give us some constructive criticism, because, that's the only way things can really get better, is when we hear out what the people got to say. And that's why I always encourage people to build dialogue when they listen to my podcast. That's why, I always invite people to give me constructive criticism, because, that's the only way I can try to improve it in any type of way, is if people, tell me how they feel about it. But overall, like I said, at least for me, and if any other creators is listening to this, leave it in the comments, DM me on Instagram, social media, anything. Just let me know how you feel about, trying to stay motivated without support, because I definitely feel that. And actually, one of the moments that I kind of felt is, I dropped my album, I think July of this year. Either it was the end of June or early July, but I dropped my album, over the summer, and, people was listening to it for the first few weeks and whatever. I was getting plays, but then, as nature kind of, time kind of runs its course, and the album isn't really getting played like that, and people aren't really sharing the songs or nothing like that. And, I thought I would get more long-term support for the album, but I was only focusing on people that was around me, supporting the album. But then, I think like a week or two ago, some random person, I got a notification on Instagram. This is the first time this has ever happened to me. I got a notification on Instagram saying that someone has tagged my song on their Instagram story. Like I said, this has never happened to me before. I never thought, and I didn't think I linked my my music account to my Instagram, but you know, it said that somebody shared my song on their Instagram. So I clicked on it and it was somebody from a foreign country. And I'm like, damn, like it really kind of put into perspective what I was saying. It's like, there is people that you don't know that is supporting you. And like, you can't just look at just the people around you, because that is something that really gets me. I'm someone that, especially when it comes to my work, I seem to only center on the people that are just around me. And then when I don't see the people that are around me supporting, I kind of feel like nobody is supporting me. But I feel like that person randomly posting my song to their story, I feel like that was a sign from God, or if you don't believe in God, a sign from the universe, just letting me know, like, you know, you are impacting people. People are receiving your work. People are, you know, paying attention. Whether the people in front of you aren't, there is someone that is. And, you know, this is just my example, but I'm just here to tell other creators, like, even if you don't see people around you, like, supporting you, someone is. Just keep that in mind. So don't ever stop because you don't feel like majority of people do, because there is that person out there checking out for you. And like I said, I want to end this topic by just saying that if there is anybody, you know, low key supporting this podcast, if there is anyone, you know, taking time out of their day to listen to what a boy in New Jersey in his bedroom is saying on a microphone, then I just want to say thank you. Because, you know, like I always say, my motivation is just to entertain. So if at least one person is entertained, then that is enough for me. So, all right. You know, it's funny because I was talking about social media on the last topic, but my next topic is about social media. And honestly, I came up with this list of topics like last week, so I don't fully remember like why I put social media. But I guess one thing I do want to talk about is I've been kind of moving with social media very differently as of recently. So, like, I think I said one time before on the podcast that I used to post a lot on social media, like, you know, post on my story. I mean, back in the day, I used to post on my feed when it seemed like more women were like interested in me and whatever. Not saying women aren't interested in me, but like, you know, back then it seems like a lot more girls were thirsty over me. So I would post a lot on my feed, but, you know, as of late, I haven't been posting like that, and I've been deleting some of my pictures. I've just been deleting a lot of things from my story. I mean, from my page. I've been archiving pictures. I don't even really post on my story that much. And I feel like one of the reasons I do it is kind of goes back to the first episode of the podcast where one, a lot of people don't really care, you know, what you're really doing or anything like that. But I think the other reason that I'm doing it is, I don't know, I low-key feel like I'm getting too old somewhat for social media or whatever. Like, I don't feel the need to post that much anymore. Like, if I post, I'll post once in a while, but I kind of just fell back from social media. Like, I don't care about letting people know what I'm doing. And I've never really been that much of an open person anyway. So, like, I don't know. I was never that type of person to always let people know what I'm doing, but like, I just don't feel interested in posting on social media anymore. Like, the most I'll post is whether it's like related to my content, like most likely I'll post a promotion for this episode, or I'll just post like thoughts on a movie I saw or something like that, which I'm gonna get to movies I recently seen later in the episode. But yeah, like, I don't know. I just been moving very differently with social media, though I am still young. So there is certain ways social media still somewhat has a grip on me. One of the things that I've been working on is my social media ratio. And y'all know what the ratio is. Basically your followers versus your following list. And I kind of noticed that people with a lower following list than their follower list, and not even just by a little bit, but like if your follower list is over by hundreds than your following list, it seems like people have a lot more respect for you on social media. So that's something that I've been trying to work on because, I want my content, obviously I want y'all to know about the podcast and music and anything that I make. So I've been tweaking with my followers and following list. I unfollowed a bunch of accounts, like old accounts that from when I first joined Instagram back when I was in middle school. Like I've been unfollowing those accounts. I've been any ghost followers or anybody that haven't posted in years or even last year, I was just like, all right, I'm out. I just been unfollowing so much, partly because, if you're not going to post anything, what's the point of me following you? But also because I want to work on my ratio. And, actually, it's been kind of helping a little bit. Like whenever I post, more people do seem to pay attention. I'm getting higher numbers on my views. I kind of hate that you have to play these games with social media to get your stuff more recognized. But hey, don't hate the players, only hate the game. So, I mean, if that's how I have to play this social media game by, unfollowing people so that, I can get more looks and views on my content, then I guess that's what I'm just about to do. But overall, I'm just not feeling social media lately. But it's almost like what I said with the episodes with Zanai and Al. Like, I'm just not much of a social media type of person. Like, I don't like sharing too much information. And one of the things I definitely want to do, like as I get more famous, more well known by people, one thing I definitely want to do is, and hey, mom, dad, whatever family member, sisters, brothers, cousins, whatever family member, I'm just letting y'all know now, I'm going to block you when I get famous. And it's not because, of anything like ignorant or anything like that. It's just because, with social media, there is, I just keep pausing a lot. But one thing with me that I don't play about is certain family members. I don't play about that. Like my mom, my dad, sometimes I post my nieces and my nephews on social media. I'm saying when I get famous, I don't play people talking about them, especially my nieces and nephews, because I'm not having kids anytime soon. So I treat my nieces and nephews kind of like my kids. Like I show them the same amount of care that I would show if I had kids. So especially when it comes to them, I can't take any negativity going towards any family members, especially them. So that's why I say, when I do get on, I just hope my family knows that they're going to get blocked just because I'm not going to let anybody play with them. I don't have the time to play like that. So, yeah. But yeah, like I said before, I'm not really much of a social media person in general. Y'all know my views. Like I even said on the episode with Al, even when I do have kids, I'm kind of going to give it well enough time before I even get into it. And even on the episode with Zanai, like I was trying to keep it low key, though I caught myself in the middle of the episode that I am talking to somebody right now. And with my last few relationships, I very much have learned, do not post your significant other on social media. Like this girl, yeah, anybody close to me, like friends, family, they're gonna know about her when that time comes and I feel like telling people about her. But y'all motherfuckers on social media, I learned my lesson with my last girlfriend. You got people following me just waiting until we break up so that they can slide in their DM. Like, nah, ain't no goofy shit gonna happen like that in the future again. Especially not with this girl. Nah, I'm not letting that goofy shit slide. No. So that's just what it is. That's just what it is as far as the social media thing. Damn, this episode really wasn't meant to be that long anyway, but the next topic, which I kind of talked about, I touched on slightly in the last topic, and that is recent movies. I don't know what's up with me. I feel like I'm someone that I'm just an unpopular opinion type of person. I mean, that's one of the points of this podcast, but I'm just very much an unpopular opinionated person, because for the past 2 weeks, I've seen 2 movies that a lot of people hate, but I like them. Actually, one of them I actually love. So the first movie, and I think I saw this like 2 or 3 weeks ago, it was Olivia Wilde's Don't Worry, Darling. And I've seen hella reviews tearing this movie a new ass, saying it's the worst movie of 2022, saying that, you know, people in the movie sound like they're reading right off their script as the film is filming. Like, people was tearing apart this movie. Hold on, I got it. Damn, I gotta take my sip, you know, all this talking. But people was tearing this movie apart, and while I'm watching it, I'm just thinking this movie is decent. I don't know. Part of me feels like the behind the scenes drama that was going on with Olivia Wilde and Florence Pugh and Shia LaBeouf, I feel like all of that is partly why people is saying all this negative stuff about the movie. Because here's the thing. I don't think Don't Worry, Darling is a bad movie, but I mean, a lot of people's opinions are subjective. I don't think it's fair to call this a bad movie. I would say that at best, it's a decent movie, because the cinematography isn't bad. The acting really isn't that bad. I mean, people have kind of only really been talking shit about Harry Styles, but I feel like he's at least decent. I feel like the movie is at least a decent movie. I don't think it's something that people can really say is trash. I mean, people can, like I said, movies are subjective. Everybody is entitled to their own feelings. So if you feel like the movie is bad, that's not me. This isn't me telling you that you're wrong. But I do feel like it's, like I said, it's not me telling you that you're wrong, but I do feel like it's kind of unfair to say that the movie is bad. Like, people are making it sound like, you know, this movie is The Room type bad. So, you know, as someone that loves to watch bad movies, as someone that like watches horrible movies for fun, I can tell you this movie is not bad. Not saying that, you know, like I said, if you feel like that, you're not wrong, because it is your opinion. But at best, I really feel like people should think this movie is decent. And I really do feel like a lot of the issues is pushed by the behind the scenes drama. And I'm not going to sit here and say the movie doesn't have flaws. Like, one of the flaws that people were saying was, you know, oh, I knew the twist was coming from a mile away, or the twist wasn't special because it's a simulation just like a lot of other movies or whatever. And, you know, it seems like people is saying the fact that it didn't do anything new is like, you know, something that they'll hold against the movie. But my thing is, there's a lot of films out there that doesn't do anything new, but yet they're still held as good or sometimes amazing movies. Like, you know, Avatar is basically an adult version of Fern Gully, but nobody ever complains about that. Black Panther is basically Lion King, and that's one of the most successful movies in Marvel, and its sequel is one of the most highly anticipated sequels of the year. Not only that, but Nope, besides the twist, a lot of people was comparing it to a hella other movies. So it's just like, there's a lot of movies that don't really do anything too entirely new, but they're given a pass. But it kind of seems like with Don't Worry, Darling, it kind of seems to be more of an issue for people that the twist wasn't anything new. So I just really do feel like it just comes down to the behind the scenes drama, which I will say, look, Olivia Wilde, everything she did was like very unprofessional, especially as someone that wants to become a director someday. The way she was moving was not right, especially for, your film. I heard that she was being very unprofessional with Harry Styles and Florence Pugh and stuff like that. Like, how are you going to be unprofessional for people that's coming here to help your vision come to life? Like that? No. See, I know you're the boss, but you got to still show respect to your actors and your crew and like that. Like, what I read that she did really rubbed me the wrong way. And even the video of her where she was kind of throwing shots at Florence Pugh, like, all that really rubbed me the wrong way. But I'm not going to sit here and say that she's not a good film director. And, let me clarify, because my friend Josh and I got into this about it. Yes, as a director, she did do those unprofessional things on set. But when I say as a director, I mean like how the movies turn out. Because Booksmart is a modern day classic. I don't care what nobody says. In a few years, people are going to call it a classic. We're going to look back on Booksmart. Actually, a lot of people already do. So Booksmart is a modern day classic. And Olivia Wilde, everybody makes a dud. Everybody makes a movie that's not as good as their other ones. I personally like Don't Worry, Darling, but this could easily just be Olivia Wilde's dud. So maybe her next movie will be better. But the one thing I admire about Olivia Wilde, and I mean, some people may not like that I'm about to say this, she's slowly becoming one of my favorite directors because she somewhat reminds me of Jordan Peele a little bit. And I don't mean like, they fully do the same style or anything like that, but I mean that with Jordan Peele, he had his first movie become a classic, like, Get Out. Her first movie, as of right now, people is starting to call it a classic, Booksmart. And then, Jordan Peele, some people said he had a dud with Us. Don't Worry, Darling, people is saying that they don't like it and stuff like that. But the same way I kind of feel about Us is somewhat the same way I feel about Don't Worry, Darling. And don't take this as a negative. Don't take this as a negative. But with Jordan Peele's Us, I kind of said, like, I like the movie a lot. I like the message that they're going for. But it's one of those movies where you kind of do need to turn off your head just a little bit. You just need to not question too many things, or else you're just going to wind up ruining it for yourself. That's how I feel about Don't Worry, Darling. Because there is things like how people, and I guess you could say this is one of my criticisms, where people were saying that the twist was obvious. How the fuck was it obvious to y'all? Typically in a movie where it takes place in a simulation, you're going to see glitches. You might, it's going to kind of look like some video game type stuff, like glitches and stuff messing up and whatever. Don't Worry, Darling didn't have that. Like, yeah, the one girl showed up in the mirror where she should have been at, but, that's some regular horror movie type shit. The airplane. That airplane wasn't significant to Florence Pugh's character. It was significant to her friend because her son that got taken had that airplane. But Florence Pugh herself, that wasn't significant to her character. So when people says that's like a sign that it was taking place in a simulation, I just can't rock with that one because I'm just like, that has nothing to do with Florence Pugh's character. So I guess you can say that is one of the negatives that I have, because I do have negatives about the movie, but it is just one of those movies where you kind of just need to sit back, don't question things too much, or else you're just going to wind up ruining it for yourself. So I very much enjoyed the film. And also, if you guys hear a dog barking, that's my neighbor's dog barking. God, I hate when they put those dogs out there. Especially when the other dog is out there and they start fighting with each other. Okay, I'm getting off track. But yeah, Don't Worry, Darling, as much as I liked it, it is one of those movies where you kind of need to turn your brain off for a little bit so that you can mostly enjoy it. I still give it a 7 out of 10. I very much enjoyed the movie and I would buy it. if I would buy it when it's on DVD or anything like that. Like, it's not one of the best movies ever. It's not like gonna be a classic or anything like that, but I think it's a good movie. I feel like it's a good movie that if you're just, home with Bay, home with your friends or family or whatever, or maybe you don't want to watch this with your family because Florence Pugh get eaten out a few times in this movie. But if you're hanging out with your boys, hanging out with some friends, hanging out with your girl, I feel like it's a movie that's not too bad to turn on. Got a little suspense, keep her on her toes, have her, climb all over you while she's scared. Y'all know, yeah, hey, y'all boys know what I'm talking about. But yeah, Don't Worry, Darling is a decent movie to me. Now, the next movie, I'll get into a debate with someone about this because this is the one that I love. So, the last movie that, like I said, I saw Halloween Ends last week with my cousin, and there was so many people saying how horrible this movie is, how bad this movie is, and stuff like that. I'm gonna be here to tell y'all right now that is some bullshit. Okay, I'm joking, but the movie is actually good. I don't care what nobody says. Like I said, I love the movie, but one thing that I kind of noticed on is, let's go by the main criticisms one by one. So the first main criticism that I keep hearing is there's barely any Michael Myers in the movie. So what I got to say to that is, yeah, you're right. There barely is any Michael Myers, but you're acting like that was done with no point to it. See, the whole movie, and I mean, obviously I'm about to get into spoilers, but the whole movie was pretty much showing this new character named Corey, how he becomes the new Michael Myers. And it's because he was, falsely accused of, or he did, but he accidentally killed a kid at the beginning of the movie. And, after that, the town that they live in hates him. And it's kind of one of those things where, like, if you see me as a bad guy, I might as well become the bad guy. It's like, the town that he lived in, of course, Halloween fans know, Haddonfield, the town that the movie takes place in, the movie was kind of, the message was basically that even if Michael isn't around, evil will be transferred to other people. The essence of Michael Myers will still be found in other people. Because they show in the aftermath of Halloween Kills that in the time between the last movie and this one, there's been a lot of copycat killers. There's been people doing crimes, basically trying to emulate Michael. And this movie was basically watching a kid, Corey, go from a kid with a bright future to becoming someone who ends up being like Michael Myers. So while Michael Myers himself wasn't physically too much in this movie, it's not really too much about him. It's more about, the spirit of Michael Myers. Like, even if we don't see him physically, his spirit is still felt in other people because of what he's done to the town for many years. So, hey, if you really came to buy a ticket just to watch Michael Myers, I mean, you're kind of tripping, because Michael Myers was never the main character of these movies. But his presence is what this movie was mostly about. So even if he's not here physically, he still had a big impact on this movie. The next criticism I heard is, it seems like a lot of people really just wanted Laurie versus Michael. And I'll give y'all this. The fight did come out of nowhere at the end. Actually, I can't even say it came out of nowhere too, because it was building up. Like, all of this was building up, and Corey was basically that link from Laurie to Michael. Like, he was the one that brought them back together, because as they established in the last movie, Michael doesn't give a fuck about Laurie. So they had to have some reason to bring those two together. And I feel like it made a lot of sense that Corey was that thing. Corey was basically that middleman between Laurie and Michael throughout the whole movie. So I feel like that even made sense too. I was about to sit here and say that I was just about to sit here and say that it came out of nowhere, but his link was made a lot of sense. It made a lot of sense. So I can't even go with that one. What I will say is I don't think people really have real complaints about this movie. I will say that if this was in another movie in the trilogy, people would not hate this movie. Matter of fact, they would probably have liked it. Like, if they introduced Corey in an earlier movie in the trilogy, like, say the trilogy went maybe a little bit different. Like, maybe Laurie's granddaughter Allison started dating Corey in the first Halloween movie, and Laurie is very much worried about Michael coming back. And then maybe Corey could have been that link sooner to Michael and Laurie, and we could have seen his transition from Halloween 2018, and then in Halloween Kills, maybe we could have seen Michael doing his thing and Corey doing his thing, and then it could have still played out where Corey went on that whole spree and then he wound up dying, and then Halloween Ends could have just focused just on Michael. Maybe if the trilogy went like that, less people would be angry. But here's the thing. Halloween Ends is a movie, and I guess this is the only valid thing I'll give people. Halloween Ends is a movie where they had so many great ideas, they just introduced them at the wrong time. Because personally, me, I liked it because I like, I feel like overall this trilogy basically touches on trauma in different ways. And I like how they explore trauma in a bunch of different ways throughout each of the movies. And I like seeing the progression of Corey turning into basically Michael Myers. But here's the thing. I personally like that, but I do hear what other people are saying, where they're saying like, this is supposed to be the finale. This is the finale. So that's why I'm saying if they did introduce these ideas in earlier movies in the trilogy, then I think a lot of people would be more happy with this. But because it wasn't established and because this was done in the finale, a lot of people just don't like it. And me, I'm fine with it. I actually like this decision, whether it's the finale or not, because at the end of the day, the only thing... See, here's the thing with me. I'm someone, I can go into a movie with low expectations and here's the thing. This is something people get misconstrued a lot. People think that when you say going into something with low expectations, they take it as you thinking that it's going to be bad. When I say go into something with low expectations, that's not me saying I think it's going to be bad. That's just me saying, hey, I'm not going to put no thoughts in my head of what I want or what I think this thing is going to be like. The only thing I had in my head when I went to go see Halloween Ends, I want to see if Jamie Lee Curtis is going to have a proper ending, because from what I heard, this is going to be the last time she plays Laurie Strode in any of these movies. I mean, she could just be saying that now, but you never know. They might give her a small cameo in like future films or anything like that. You never know. But as of right now, they say this is her last movie. So I just wanted to know if they were going to give her a proper, ending to this character. Were they going to, let her go in a respectful way? And that's what they did, in my opinion. I feel like they handled her character beautifully. And, this is just another stamp in Jamie Lee Curtis's iconic career. So that's all I was worried about. And I got what I wanted. Everything else I liked, because I wasn't sitting there thinking, oh, I want this to happen or else I'm not going to like it. I need this to happen or this movie is going to be shit. Nah, I went in not even expecting how they were going to end her story. I just wanted them to end her story that way. Even if they didn't end it that way, hey, I'm open to it. This is a Halloween movie. Laurie has died in other timelines before. So, If that's what was gonna happen, I would have been fine with it because I would have just had to accept it. That still wouldn't have changed how I feel about the overall trilogy. And I don't care what nobody says, overall, this Halloween trilogy has been amazing. Because, like I said, I'm someone that's big on characters and story. And I feel like, as far as characters, this timeline has really made me care for so many characters and made me so invested in all of this. But I think the main reason why I love this timeline so much, and keep in mind, I heard some random noise, but keep in mind, I have never seen the full timeline of other movies or whatever. I've seen like other movies here and there, but as far as this timeline, I like how it focuses on trauma and grief throughout all the different movies. In 2018, we see how trauma can turn you into like a hardened person, like how Laurie became such a hardened person, and that all her focus on was basically Michael Myers. She made her trauma from the original Halloween take over her whole life, to the point where it even caused her and her daughter to have a bad relationship. Then you have Halloween Kills, where you kind of see how a whole society can be affected by trauma, and how if you don't handle it correctly, you guys wind up becoming the things that you're trying to fight. Because ultimately, if you watch Halloween Kills, they're trying to get Michael, but then they force another person to kill themselves, all because they were so hell-bent on trying to kill Michael. They became what they didn't like. They became what they were trying to hunt. They became killers. And then in this movie, you see Corey's story with trauma and grief and stuff like that, where, you know, the town wants to point fingers for the trauma that they've been put through. You see Laurie working through her trauma and how she's finally learning to get through it. And you see how Corey was involved in a traumatic situation and people painted him as a bad guy for it, and how he let everybody's, thoughts of him consume him and make him the bad guy. So I like how the movie I like how this trilogy just explores different views of grief and trauma. And I honestly feel like people hate this movie now, but I mean, give it a few years, I do feel like Halloween Kills will be looked at very fondly. So like I said, just give it a few years. I loved Halloween Ends. I'm definitely going to, buy the whole series if it ever, goes on sale or whatever. So, yeah, that was one thing. So, it's almost time for me to get off this thing because I'm about to get on PlayStation with my boy. But the one thing I do want to say at the end of this episode, well, this is about to be the end of the episode, but one thing I want to say before we go is I have some plans for the end of the year. I do plan for the last episode of the year. I do plan on, and I don't know if this is going to be done in multiple parts. I would like to get this done in just one episode, but I'd like to do an end of the year episode, because for anybody that follows me on Instagram, you probably noticed that every year I try to do it December 31st, but if I don't plan on posting before that, if I don't plan on posting before December, or basically if I don't plan on posting anytime soon before the end of the year, I like to post an end of the year picture where, I put the name of the year, and then I put like 10 photos either of my favorite moments of the year or either like, my favorite pictures of the year. And like, I just put my top 10 memories or favorite photos. I basically talk about how I felt about this year, and that's about it. But I want to take that concept and add it to the podcast. So for my video viewers, you guys will, when that episode comes, you'll see the picture on the screen, and I'll just describe each picture that you guys see on the screen. For my audio listeners, I'll make the episode picture for the podcast, so you can just look at, the picture on the podcast and see look at what I'm describing. But besides just going over the picture, I want to do like an end of the year episode where I say my favorite movie of the year. I say, maybe my favorite album of the year. I want to go into detail about how I feel about each year. So like I said, I want to take what I do with my Instagram with the end of the year photo, but I want to take it, a step further now that, I got this podcast where I say all my thoughts and stuff like that. So I hope you guys look forward to that end of the year episode, because I want to do more special type of episodes instead of just getting on here and just talking about like a bunch of recent things. I do want to do like little special episodes for y'all like that. And then like I said, I do plan on doing the Tell All series. So, if you guys have any ideas for any special episodes that I can do in between like the normal ones, just let me know. And that's about it for today. I know I've been giving you guys audio only episodes. This episode, like I said, it wasn't because of anything deep. It was because I found a short period of time between me getting on the PlayStation and when I was off, and I didn't feel like setting up the whole camera because, that would have took up time for me to do this episode. But I promise y'all, next episode will be a video episode, whether it's me by myself or whether I have a guest. I do hope the next episode I have a guest, but if I don't, either way, it's going to be a video episode. I'm going to make sure I find time to make y'all that video episode. But with all that being said, I want y'all to look forward to, any future content that I have coming along. And with all that being said, Tevin Jameer, signing out.